All right, welcome Michael Smith to the Inspired Age Show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on with us on this very busy Wednesday.
Yeah, so basically what we like to do on these is we like to talk to people about the businesses that they built, how they built them, their role in the LMV community, what that all means, and really get it going from there. So I'd like to give you the floor and have you kind of explain what you do for business.
Sure. Yeah, so my journey in marketing began before LMB, actually. So I was in the IT space as a business analyst. And obviously, once COVID hit, the government shut everything down here in the U.S. So I got laid off twice in 1 year.
Damn.
And if that doesn't encourage you to stop relying on somebody else for a paycheck, I don't know what will, right? So the first thing I went into was I started a financial coaching business. So I got like Dave Ramsey certified.
Okay.
Nice.
Getting all that. I paid like almost $2,000 for that. And then I paid about $1,500 for a guy to show me how to like do Facebook ads and do funnels and click funnels and all that. So I was getting leads. I was getting like $6 leads for coaching or what I was doing. So I'm like, okay, I can do this marketing piece, but I sucked on the sales side. So it's like I wasn't converting anybody. And I was like, you know what? Maybe finance just isn't as sexy, and helping people budget and improve their credit. It's just not as sexy as helping people make money. So eventually I ended up in affiliate marketing. Yeah, so I was in affiliate marketing. I was making about $2,000 a month. I was pretty consistent with that, but it didn't feel as good as what I wanted. Like some of the products that you see in that space are really sleazy. Or if you've been in that space, you know, or if you've seen anything or heard stories. And then I started seeing James and Jason. And I was like, you know what? I'm the Dave Ramsey guy. I'm going to save up the money. And then around December 2021, I booked a call. I hopped on a call with Robert Harris, which is an LMV, and he was trying to sell me. I'm like, dude, I've been sold for a long time. Just tell me what the price is. Let's go. So, yeah. And so as far as like what I do in LV, initially I started working with restaurants because I have 7 years in the space. I kind of like Ahmed, except I don't have like the operation style background, but I did help open up Chick-fil-A's. I have some operational experience, but mainly just like helping restaurants get more customers, increase the frequency of their customers, and get them reviews. So it's like my 3 core offerings: lead generation, message marketing, and reputation management.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So you were doing well with the marketing side. You were just like, I can't sell, man. I can't make this happen on the back end.
Yep. Yeah, that was for my coaching business. But thankfully, James and Jason, they give you a really low hanging fruit, better way to sell. I've since gotten better at selling even without all that. But I don't know. It's hard to sell people and improve their finances, I guess. But yeah, when you tell people you can make them some money, that's a different story. It's a different conversation, I think.
Money talks, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So for you, like, why did you even decide to join local marketing ball with James and Jason? Like, why them? Why do it that way?
Like I said, they had ready-made templates. Everything seemed like it was very well orchestrated and systems oriented. And like I said, they had the selling down, and that was the piece that I was really looking for. Like I felt like I can piece together technology. So that piece wasn't really that hard for me. So it really just learning the sales side of it and learning a business that I could sell, because it's just a hobby until you get sales. That's what a business is. If you don't have sales, it's pretty meaningless, right? But yeah.
And what do you feel like the most helpful part was it though for you to? I'm trying to like imagine like what part of their training were you like that helped me really sell, or like what was it for you that kind of helped you?
Yeah, like just the trials. Like I said, first I started out with trials, especially the value ladder. That really led me in. I did a different value ladder than what James and Jason teach, though. Like I lead generation, like I would always target restaurants that had no list. I wasn't scared of those because then I would do lead generation campaigns on Facebook through ManyChat, and we would build up a list of like 200 plus people in 1 month. And then the restaurants would start saying, yeah, this thing has some legs, right? So for me, it was just like getting out there, getting my hands dirty at first, and then doing all the work myself and proving to myself that I could actually accomplish it. And then that built my confidence to where I didn't have to offer trials so much.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you get like a lot more, or actually, I'll go back. So in the actual, I'm getting excited. I'm like, oh, tell me about those restaurants.
Yeah.
So in terms of the sales side, you're saying that you basically were able to take the structure of how you would actually offer services without like walking in and be like,
Yeah.
give me money and I'll get you people. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
you had kind of like a flow, a process, and an order of which you would offer the services to get them interested in the first place.
Yeah, that and like my approach went from like, hey, it's this price, this is what you'll get, versus like saying, hey, give me $150. I'll show you what I can do. I'll work for free until you see proof of concept. But once we start getting people into the door, that's when you'll come on and become my client for a retainer. Sound good? Okay. Yeah, very easy.
Okay.
Nice. So if you could kind of explain to somebody who has no idea how this works, could you explain exactly what you do for restaurants?
Yeah, I've actually taken the line that James and Jason give. Like, I help people build online, whatever. So my whole phrase is I help kick-ass restaurateurs acquire raving fans and track the ROI on their marketing, because that's something that doesn't exist in the marketplace. Like so many agencies out there that call restaurants, they're like likes, engagements, but that shit doesn't pay the bills. It just doesn't. So
yeah, and it means very little to a business owner to be like, hey, I'm gonna get you, a 300% engagement increase. I can't even talk, increasement on your engagement.
I can't even say the words.
It just doesn't make sense. But I think a lot of people get sold into that because marketing agencies will contact people and be like, well, look at all the impressions we got you this month. But at the end of the day, a business owner cares about one thing generally. It's what actual value are you bringing to my company?
Yep. And that's one of the hardest things in the restaurant space is to do tracking, because you got to spend like an hour and a half dialing into their POS, dialing into their online application to put the code in there. That way you can pull all the reports on the back end. That's the most challenging tedious part.
Yeah, no, like seriously, like I was talking to a guy the other day, and he actually joined the program, and he knew a bunch of restaurant owners. And actually, I saw you commenting on his post. Actually, funny enough, but he was like saying, yeah, like, how do you do the point of sales and how do you tie in on the back? And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I never ran this campaign. Like, I don't know that. Like, I know how you could like show value to a restaurant, right? On the front end, these are how many people came in. You have to trust them that these many people use the coupon. But for you, like, have you dialed in that whole process? Like, you can track all of that online from your back end, like point of sales, everything?
Yeah, so I have dialed in with point of sales, but there is a better way. And that's I actually use somebody in the group. His name's Mark Volzer. He runs my ads now. Like I said, if you can always have somebody that does it better than you, have it work, right? Have him join your team. And then, so I pay him. He has a back end. He uses ManyChat the same as I used to. But he has a team that does really good ads. He does a good report for me at the end of the month, and he shows like each name, phone number, and email that opted in through the ads. He also shows like how many people redeem. He shows the potential lifetime value of the customers. He shows the cost per acquisition. So like if it costed $5.84 to acquire a customer, they know that, and then they can say, all right, we spent $500 this month. Maybe we should go spend $1,000 because it makes sense. Now we know how much it costs to acquire a customer. So my goal is to show restaurateurs that there is no budget when it comes to marketing, especially if you can see a ROI on it. Like, budget should not be such a big constraint.
Right.
Yeah, I think budget is one of those questions that you get a lot more in the beginning, especially when you're working with a new restaurant owner. They always want to know, like, what is this going to cost me? But once they definitely, they start to see those results from you and they start to get an idea of how much farther you're making their dollars stretch out, then you get to really play with like, okay, maybe we want our budget for this to change. Maybe we want to put more into this now that we see the potential here.
Yep. And there's a lot of alternative strategies that have nothing to do with ads whatsoever. Like you can grow a list organically. You can use QR codes, really powerful. You can use website opt-ins, really powerful. So many things. I know one thing that I did with the Domino's client I have in Charlotte is we ran like a 20-second clip at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte football games. In 2 weeks, we got 4,000 opt-ins.
For Domino's?
Yeah, and now they got 20,000 people on that list.
That's a perfect demo because, like, when I was in college, it was Domino's. There was nothing else. It was like they always had the two for $20 or something medium pizza deal or something, and like me and the roommates always it's Domino's. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's what I was telling somebody I'm working with now, Jessie. She's working with like a poutine and wings shop up there in Canada. I said, y'all are right next to the University of Ottawa. I said, what the hell are y'all not doing, not taking advantage of that? I said, we got some kind of deal that's really affordable for the students because they're either eating ramen or they're eating something else.
Yeah.
You got to get yourself into that equation.
And they got the student loans. They're ready to eat, you know?
Yeah.
They're not good with money.
Yeah.
And they're hungry.
Yep. What's really interesting about what you're doing is I think from like an outsider perspective, most people wouldn't understand how a restaurant can benefit from having like a customer list. Because I don't know about you, but I don't think I'm on any restaurant email lists. So it's really interesting that that's kind of the approach that you take and that it ends up actually putting more money in the restaurant owner's pocket by just having a list of people.
Yeah. I mean, like I have a small little family-owned pizza restaurant that I work with in California. We consistently add $3,000 of revenue to their restaurant every week using message.
Every week.
Yeah, every week. So that's an extra $12,000. That's not including ads. That's just they do more than break even on the ads. Like usually they get like a 5 to 7 return on ad spend on the ads, and then you get like $3,000 every week. It depends on the offer. Like sometimes you test different offers. Sometimes it's 4.5. Sometimes it might be 2. Or you just have to run different things and you have to figure out what works.
So can you kind of, roughly explain how that works? Like, what do you do for that restaurant that then puts $3,000 in their pocket that week?
Yeah, so we consult. Like, there's my approach to restaurants has grown and like changed over the past 2 years since I've been. In about a month it'll be 2 years since I've been at LMV. But my approach has changed and evolved. One thing that I do require of restaurants now is I like for them to have like a new, fresh monthly dish, which is kind of nice because then you don't have to offer that discount when you're doing message marketing campaigns. So like, let's say for the pizza place, maybe they do like a chicken and barbecue pizza or something like that. So like that might be like the November special. So we'll send out like 2 weeks of like a FOMO campaign just on that alone. And then sometimes another idea that I've done is like maybe it's just like a higher end dish that's really a good dish but doesn't get a lot of exposure. Maybe we'll offer like a temporary discount to get people to start tasting that. Like I work with a restaurant in Texas. They have like this pot roast dish. It's like $35, but we gave like $10 off of it for like a week, and then people start ordering it at the normal price. So it's like sometimes it's just giving them that taste of the more expensive things, see if they like it. And then obviously like value deals, like you can do dinner for 2. Like, you see it at like, I think it's like Chili's or whatever. You can do like 2 for $25 and you can pair things together and make like a value type meal. Things I usually don't do is like a percentage off just because you start encouraging like discount customers. It's all about the perception of the brand. So you still have to be very careful in terms of language.
Right. So it's not all just about, hey, we're going to email you discounts all the time. Sometimes it's just promoting a limited dish or whatever, just to kind of get people knowing what that restaurant is doing. And now it's in their mind and they're more likely to come in.
Yeah. Like I don't even say discounts. I say like deals and offers. That's I mean, you can equate it to what you want, but yeah, I usually steer away from discounts now.
Okay.
And on a business note, like why restaurants did you decide to really go in on?
To me, they're easy to talk to. I don't know. For some people, it's just like, and for me, like I can go and I can park in like a area of 50 businesses, and I can go and just talk to them, and it's just
Yeah.
that's my preferred outreach method. Like it's just
So
to
you're just
go,
hands on. You just walk in that
yeah,
bitch.
yeah,
Just walking
like
around.
yeah,
I love
like
that.
my approach has definitely grown over time. Like I first started out that way. That was how I actually got Domino's. Like I went into that Domino's. I talked with the managers. They gave me like the regional VP because most of them are individually owned and operated. So even though they do
Right.
have some corporate stuff, there's obviously somewhere you could probably slot in and do something. A lot of
I,
my ads do have to go through corporate to get approved, which is kind of pain in the ass, but whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, so and like even now, like I do looms, like I do a 5 minute video before I walk into a place. Like I will do like a loom of their website. Do they have a Facebook pixel on there? Their Google business profile, like how are the reviews? Restaurants' reviews are only good as the last 2 months, so I either highlight the good stuff or let them know, hey, you need to respond to these bad reviews. We can do that for you if you're interested, and then I show them how they're ranking. Like, are you ranking for anything? Are you just ranking for your brand name? Or are you ranking for the food items that are on your website?
Right.
And then I send that to them, and I send a double tap, Facebook, email. Like, hey, my name's Mike. Been working with restaurants for the past 2 years. I was checking out your online presence. This is what I saw. This is what I liked. This is what I didn't. Take a look at the video down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk soon. Boom.
Nice.
Simple.
So you kind of
Non
send them that up front to be like, hey, I looked at your business. I understand a little bit what's going on. Here are my suggestions, and kind of give them that value up front, and then offer to come meet with them and talk about it.
Yeah, that's been like that's taken place of the trial for me. Like, and it gives them that reciprocity up front, and then we have a conversation after that.
And I know that a lot of people seem to think, or it's the stigma that restaurants are low profit margins, tough businesses to be in. I mean, like the question that I have, like, do they pay you a lot of money? Like, how much can you get from like a single restaurant here that is paying for your services?
So I'll answer that with like what I look for in a restaurant, and then what I charge normally. So
Yeah,
like
hit me.
the first 5 things, well, it used to be originally 3 things that I look for in a restaurant. One, good pictures, because if you run ads, you don't want something that looks like a baby's diaper when you're going to be rolling up on Facebook. That's not going to bring anybody in, right?
There's some
2,
dirty lasagna. Yeah,
yeah,
no. The forbidden lasagna.
yeah,
So sorry.
or Mexican
We
food
gotta
or
mute
something
him.
like that. It's a tough sell. The second thing is obviously like the business owner's mindset in terms of offer. Like, are they flexible? Are they willing to give up something initially to get that person's information? Because if they're not, more than likely they're not ever going to be growth oriented enough for me to want to work with them. The
Right.
third thing is, oh yeah, they used to be like 4 stars or better, so they got to have at least a decent reputation. Because if I bring them customers, I don't want them to run away. Otherwise, I'm gonna get fired regardless of how good I do.
Yeah.
And then eventually I added the fourth and fifth one, which I already told you. Fourth one, which was somebody that's good enough like to add like a limited time dish each month, because then that in itself lends to message marketing. It's really nice.
That's sexy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the fifth one is $40,000 or more in revenue. They have to qualify to work with me. Like
Per month?
that is, yeah, like 40,000 a month. That's average in the restaurant space in the US. Now, in terms of what they pay me and what I charge, it's usually like for rep management, Facebook ads, and message marketing is $12.97 a month.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
I feel like that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
for
definitely.
all those services.
Especially the breakdown that you do, like that you have the team do and all that stuff. Like to me, like that's huge because these people don't understand a lot of times like what marketing can do. And quite frankly, I wouldn't know all those figures. But if you're like, look, like the average customer is probably going to come in 3 times in their life, let's say, right?
Yeah.
Then you can at least get them in here multiple times. But because you do the chat campaigns, which is just through Facebook Messenger, right?
Yep.
Because you're doing it through there, you're basically building an audience of people who are, and with the once a month dish, you're building an audience who's like, I want to come here every month. Like, let's try something at least once a month and try something good. I like that. That's smart.
Yeah. The National Restaurant Association said that if you can dial it in, the lifetime value of a customer in restaurants could be $6,000.
Wow.
So if you can bring in like 60 new people, you can communicate the extreme value in that. And that's usually what I use when I sell. It's like, hey, if we could only get you 25 or 30 new people in here and they were all worth 6,000 people because you're dialed in, you do everything you need to do, and they come back for the entirety of their life, you could be sitting on like multiple 6 figures of new revenue coming into your business each month.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It's really interesting because I was talking to Terry, who obviously is kind of the message marketing queen in the LMV program. And it's really interesting because message marketing is not something that I have a ton of experience with. And I think it's something that a lot of marketers don't know how much potential there is in it. But she was explaining that when she, works with businesses now, she always kind of incorporates message marketing into her lead gen because she found that she would get a lot of clients, she'd do lead gen for them, and they wouldn't always get great results because they weren't following up with the leads.
Yep.
So she kind of started by making it mandatory that if she does lead gen for someone, they also have to also pay for her automated follow-up sequence.
Yeah.
And she was kind of explaining how message marketing, just being able to effectively communicate with your customers, actually then usually makes your ads perform better as well. Have you found that that's also the case?
Yeah, that's what I do. Because like generally, if you run lead generation, especially for restaurants, because it's not like there's somebody sitting there at the phone waiting to call them up when the lead form comes in, right, or whatever, or the message comes in. So basically, the whole point of the message, well, you have to have a follow-up at restaurants to drive them in. Like that's just mandatory. It's not even an option, to be honest. If you're not doing it, your trials aren't going to be successful if you are running trials and you're never going to try people in. Like usually I send 7 points of contact throughout.
Okay.
Initially clicking on the ad, usually 7 points of contact. It can range from 10 to 14 days of follow-up to let them experience the FOMO, like be like, hey, you click join our VIP club, so now you just keep doing that. And then once they're in, you offer them several different offers that they can tie in after that. So once you put them in one workflow from the actual FOMO piece, then you enter them into another workflow. So then they start getting like weekly offers and just keep on running it.
So basically, if you're launching an ad for your restaurant, somebody clicks on that ad. Now, over the next 14 days, you're going to basically put that restaurant in front of them in 7 different ways.
Yep. Usually my first 2 contacts are text and email, obviously, to deliver the initial offer. Then it alternates between text, email, text, and the last one's text. 24 hours left is always text because it has to be the one that hits the hardest. to let them know they got 24 hours left. I wouldn't want to leave my last point of contact being email.
So they have to not only then click on the ad, they have to at some point give you their email and their text or their number for you to be able to have those follow-ups.
Yeah, they do that through a Facebook lead form, and then it goes into high level, and then all that follows up.
Gotcha.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So in terms of your, business now, I mean, when you joined LMV, so 2 years ago now, you're saying, right? You joined. Were you already working with restaurants, or did you just take on these restaurants after you joined?
I just took on the restaurants. This was before the restaurant challenge was even a thing, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I think it came out like, I can't remember when Jason put it out there, but like, I don't know. I just really love working with restaurants. And like I said, I worked in the space for 7 years. I didn't like working for them in high school and college, but I love like marketing with them, helping them get customers, and me, that's just where I've been. And I am looking at branching out. Like I said, I talked to y'all about like the rewards program. I feel like that has such huge implications in several different industries, like vape shops, alcohol shops, hair salons, nail salons, med spas, restaurants, any place that you could think of, like having rewards or a punch card that's digital. Yeah, there's a lot of potential there.
So that's what you kind of want to branch out into, is getting into other types of businesses and implementing this reward system into their business.
Yes. Yeah, because like I said, it's really sticky. We started talking about it, but we could talk about more here. And but yeah, once you get like 100 people in rewards, what's the owner going to do? Like say, yeah, we're not paying for that no more.
Yeah. Like,
it's gonna be like, yeah.
But, I mean, like, and the crazy thing is that you're really with the award I can't even talk about
neither of us can talk.
Rewards program. You are really fostering just like repeat business for these people and subscription models. Because I noticed that too. Like when we've worked with local businesses, a lot of times you just like think like we helped this local HVAC guy, did like duct cleaning offer and everything like that, and I just like kept thinking to myself, and I said this to Kelsey, I was like, I feel like they should just offer a subscription model.
Yeah.
And not even that you like have to pay, by a certain date or something, but like I feel like people would just be like, oh, like when's my next one? In 2 years? Yeah, like give me a call the month of and like let me know when it's time.
Yeah.
I actually work for an HVAC company part-time, so I know this model piece. Yeah, so like the HVAC company I work for, they have what's called like an Acosta Club or whatever, and it basically includes an annual heating and an annual cooling visit, priority scheduling, 15% off of your repairs. So basically, like their whole goal is they get that recurring revenue, like you were talking about, and then they have the perks, and you pay like depending on how many systems you have, they have a tiered pricing based on that.
Yeah, that's so smart. I mean, especially for something like HVAC where like it is a cyclical service. Like we came and cleaned your ducts today. Awesome. Probably 2 years from now, you're going to be due for it again.
Yeah.
Let's set you up.
Like I said, not even just duct cleaning, but like your maintenances. Because if you don't maintain the system, it's just like a car. Eventually, it's gonna hit rock bottom. In the end, you have to change filters. You have to make sure your coils get cleaned. Various things.
Okay. So you're part-time in the HVAC and you're running your agency right now. How is it juggling the two?
It's not that bad. Like I said, I'm actually working full-time, so I'm making my way out of the full-time rat race, but I'd still keep the HVAC because like it's really low maintenance. It's pretty passive to be honest, but yeah, it's not bad.
Okay.
I think you could easily work a 9 to 5 and do this business. It just takes a lot of commitment.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of becomes your hobby, like the business in a sense, right? A paid hobby. I mean, like James, just like the way, because we've talked to him a few times about his kind of come up, and I've always been fascinated by the discipline, I suppose, because he was just a school teacher. And at some point, making 40 to 70,000 per month. I mean, I would have quit that shit. I'd have been over that. Like me personally, like I'm just like, I don't know. I'm crazy though. Like I've just started things with zero money.
Yeah.
So for you, what do you feel like the point is like for you to continue working full time and then also grow this business? Are you waiting to transition or is it a
10K?
cash amount?
Once I hit 10K, I'm done. But yeah.
How close are you to that right now?
Yeah, I'm probably about 4 or so off. Yeah. So, like I said, the biggest enemy is churn, which is agency. That's the biggest. So that's why I'm trying to implement this new sticky offer so I can get that passive income coming in.
Right.
Because it's really easy to set up. Like I said, man, like the process is really smooth. I found a good vendor that integrates with Go High Level. It's really nice. And once I start selling that, I think if I sell like even just 28, I'd be like at 6 figures, which would be nice. And then you got everything else on top of that, the agency space, so I can still run services. It's like Yeah, it's insane. Like, just I'm always trying to evolve my business, not just like stay stuck in the fabric of where I started.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a really good point that we always kind of come to this point in all these interviews with everybody, because everybody who comes into this program kind of takes what they learn and makes it their own. You know, like you yourself, you said, I have experience owning a restaurant, so maybe you naturally kind of gravitated to restaurants for that reason. But everybody will kind of take what they learned, understand how to run a successful business, understand how these services help businesses. And then after some experience, you kind of take what you learned and you're like, oh, so, okay, I could also like do this. Or like, oh, I'm noticing a lot of my clients actually need this thing. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
branch out and do that, because now you have that foundation on how this all works.
yeah, yeah. And what's crazy is I've been doing this for 2 years and I still can't spot all the red flags in people. It's kind of weird. Yeah, I had one restaurant I was working with up in New York, and uh, we were doing a website refresh for them. So we were going to do like the SEO. We were going to do alt text for all their pictures saying like best tacos in this place and do all that jazz and just like do a whole new website for them. We were going to do like what I used to call like my phase one of marketing for restaurants, which is like the list building organically, message marketing, and reputation management. That's usually like my phase one, so we can build an audience for Facebook ads when we get to that point. But like, yeah, this guy, he was like, once I mentioned EIN, like he started getting like really weird. I should have knew. I was like, dude, you knew if I wanted your EIN, I could go above your head and get it right. Eventually, I did, and it turned out he didn't have an EIN. So like, sometimes even as experienced as you are, you can't always spot the red flags until you come across them. But
Yeah. Sometimes it's just a gut feeling though. And I think in the beginning you hit on a really good point, because in the beginning when people get started, sometimes you're just like so hungry to get that first client that you kind of ignore red flags. And I mean, I know when we got started, we had this HVAC client who just like immediately there was just so much friction and he was kind of difficult to talk to. And then we were setting up a trial for him to kind of, prove our value up front. And in like the 2 days of us not responding to him over a weekend, he kind of just like blew us up and, wanted to know what was happening. And all of a sudden overnight, he kind of became like a Google Ads expert and was all of a sudden telling us how it needed to happen. And we actually just like sent his money back. We're like, respectfully, we're getting the feeling that this is not a good partnership. So we're just going to send your money back and, best of luck to you. But I think for some people in the beginning, it's hard to walk away from that, even when you are getting those kind of red flags.
yeah, and what's funny was this wasn't even that long ago, so it's not like I was like brand new in, but like I was having a sales conversation. He's like, "Yeah, I want to grow my business. Like right now, I'm at 65,000 a month. I want to grow my business so my dad can retire and I can do all this because like you always want to paint the picture of pain and the dream and what's in the middle. Like, what is your plan from getting plan A to point B? Like, he didn't show any of that, and then he started like he didn't even ask me for proof or anything. Like, so like that objection wasn't even there. Like, we just went like straight in, collected the money, and then as soon as I mentioned EIN, he's like, "Let me see your credentials. Let's see what you've done with this and that." I'm like, dude, that conversation should have happened way back before you handed me money.
Wow.
So like sometimes people can flip on you like a dime, even if you don't see the red flags in the early stage.
So why do you feel like they don't like the EIN side of things? Like, could you explain what that is?
Well, the EIN's employer identification number, and his business was probably a little flaky in terms of the government side. He didn't have an EIN, and he was handing his employees paper checks.
Oh, I see. So basically, the fact that you brought it up made him kind of worry that you were going to find out something he didn't want you to find out. So then all of a sudden, he kind of tried to put that. Yeah. Okay.
Because I had one of my lawyer friends in New York look him up, and he didn't have one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks. Damn.
Yeah. Well, probably for the best.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I spent 3 weeks on his website. I gave him half his money back, and we parted ways.
Yeah. Okay. So for you, how is the transition going from, more in the IT space, trying to make the marketing work for yourself, to now kind of running your own agency? Is that pretty seamless for you, or?
Yeah. Like I said, tech came easy, especially once I started digging. Like for me, the hardest part was there's nothing ready made in the vault for restaurants, so you have to make your own, and you have to learn how to piece it together. So what I did was, they say mimicry is the sincerest form of flattery. So I looked at some of the best people in the business and how they did it back in 2021. I copied it. It worked. They didn't have any
surprise.
They didn't have any copyrights on it, so eventually I just ended up making that work, and that's how I did pretty well. Obviously, Facebook ads is a lot more competitive now than it used to be. Like I said, the biggest challenge for me, like, wasn't tech side. It was just like finding my method, because the method does not exist. Like, the only thing that's there is like they have the challenge, which is calling an email and saying, "Hey, we can do a trial for message marketing. This work. We've found something that works for gyms." But the biggest thing was just finding my own way and making it work. Mm-hmm. But like I said, that was the biggest for me. And then just yeah. And the only thing, like, with running your own agency is just taking yourself out of the equation and things you don't enjoy. And like Jason said, I don't even think you have to be making six figures before you can do that. I think you just need to find someone who likes to do tech and that's really good at it. Like Mark, he has his own team. Like, he's not pushing the buttons, but he's somebody I can go to. He onboards the client in 7 days, so I don't have to worry about like the speed of. I don't have to worry about somebody sitting there for 3 weeks. Their ads are up, and then all I got to do is worry about the smaller stuff like the message marketing and the reputation management. So I just do the smaller ends of the tech, but it frees me up to go get more clients.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the path that you have to follow. Like, come in, learn how the business works, understand how all of these different things work, and actually try them yourself and learn firsthand, okay, I'm not as good at this part, or like, God, I really hate doing this stuff, but actually put in the effort to do it yourself first, and then find somebody who's better at it, and, you know, get some money coming in, and then be like, hey man, can I bring you into my business and get you to do this part that I kind of suck at?
Yeah, because all you got to do is like let's say I charge a restaurant $12.97. Let's say I onboard a restaurant today. So I pay Mark $500 setup fee, and I pay him $500 management. So yeah, I eat a good chunk of profit in that first month. But month 2, I'm making like $800 a month on each restaurant I sold, and I barely have to do anything. So like, it's just that worry-free aspect that's really nice. And ads are like a roller coaster, and I'm sure you know this. 1 minute they're up, 1 minute they're down, 1 minute they're up, 1 minute they're down, and it's just an emotional feeling. It's like
anything could happen at any time. Yeah. So for you, like, what do you feel like is stopping you from going and being able to get more clients, grow your business further? Because if you're at $6,000 per month right now, is that your cut of the pie?
Yeah. So right now I'm like in the process of moving, so I haven't been prospecting as much. But as soon as I get into back into the Charlotte area, I'm going to start prospecting really heavy, especially with this new rewards program that I have. That's my goal. Is like keep building up that passive income, and then eventually just to offer those people ads to like just keep bringing in new business, and then find people in the vault that partner up with. Like, I know I got my restaurant partner, so I can find anybody in the vault. Like, that's
and how thing. And how sorry, I was going to ask how like, and how much time are you spending right now, do you feel like, per week or even per day, in terms of running your business?
Yeah, so like I said, right now it's probably about 3 hours, but that's a lot of that's just like prospecting, making the videos, and just identifying what I'm going to do the next day, getting my schedule together. I do all the client, like I said, I don't do a lot of tech, but I do the sales side, I do the prospecting side, and I also do the client man keeping side. So, like, I have like 2 meetings with each client a month. So that just, I know some people do 1, but for me, that just helps with churn, especially if I'm doing ads for them. Like if I'm doing like a level service like this rewards program. They have a dashboard that's inside of Go High Level. They can keep a constant eye on that. It has all their customer data analytics and stuff, so it's not really something I have to like hop on a Zoom with them and give them that time of day. But and sometimes if they just want, sometimes maybe they're a busy type person, they don't want to meet. So sometimes I just shoot like a quick 10-minute loom. I send it to them, and then that eliminates the whole need for meeting in general.
That's awesome. Gotcha. 3 hours a day, pulling in just over $6K a month, and you're splitting half of the money you bring in initially, right? So that's pretty good. Wow.
Yeah.
So your agency, in terms of the volume you are bringing, is over that 10K mark. It's just the profit that you're keeping is not. So you're waiting to get to that over 10K.
Mm-hmm. I could probably leave right now, but it's like it says, you got to get over that comfort feeling, right? So, 10K is more comfortable than 6. Like you could have something could happen in the restaurant industry, and then
COVID. I mean, oh man, that was brutal. But okay, so
that's cool though. I mean, you've found a way to make this business work for you, and you're scaling it. You're putting that work in, and you're preparing yourself to be able to leave other work and do this full time. And you just committed that time to it. You're like, I'm doing 3 hours every day, and here you are.
Yep. Yeah, and for me, like I said, I believe the biggest asset in the vault is the community side, because you don't know how to do something, you can always pay somebody to do it. Like, as long as you can bring the money to the table, like say, hey, I got a client in this space. Somebody help me out with it. Here's $500 if you run the ads. Boom, it's done. Somebody's going to take you up. It's not that hard of a deal. Like, just be able to bring the money to the table. And to me, I think sales is the one thing that is not going to be replaced in the future. So you have to be really good at sales, and that's
I feel like
thing that I think people need to work on.
Absolutely. I mean, if people ever ask like, oh, like what do you feel like is like that one thing that stops people from succeeding? I'm like, crazy here. You don't talk to business owners. You don't do any business.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like, oh, because at the end of the day, I like the idea of owning a business. That's fun.
Yeah.
I like the idea of generating enough revenue to pay other people to do the business. That's fun. So I like the way that they structured it in LV, but I also, like you said, I personally think the community is the best part.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the training, whatever, like, cool. Like, you get campaigns, you get all that stuff, and that is great. That gives you a huge head start. But ideally, the one thing is that you need the confidence to be able to talk to somebody, the structure to talk to them, know like what campaigns you do have, and have connections in the group. So like because you're going to run across a business that just does something that you don't know how to do.
Yep.
So if you can just connect with somebody who does, you're like, oh, like before I would have to be like, oh, I don't know, maybe next time, But now you're like, oh no, I can help you out. Hold on, let me talk to. I know this person who's really good at this. Actually, I'll connect you guys, or do whatever on that side.
Yeah, I feel the same way because like I don't know. There's like something with Google. Like I know Google's really sensitive. Like if you put in the wrong card, it'll suspend your ad account. So I stayed away from Google, and I was just like, yeah, I'm safe with restaurants because my ad account's not going to be suspended as long as I'll advertise alcohol, and it's just an easy path. Like for me, it was just an easy path to just keep on talking to them, stacking it up. Not have to worry about my ad account getting suspended, and that's one reason why I chose it. Like, as long as you pay Facebook, usually they put your ad out there as long as you're not putting something controversial.
Yeah. And I think actually, Mike, you are a really good example of how valuable the group actually is, because like you said, there's no like pre-built funnel for restaurants in the group, but a lot of people do work with restaurants. And you are actually one of the people that when people say, oh, I want to focus on restaurants, I'm like, nice. I have 2 people that I can put you in contact with that could give you some good knowledge. So people can really come into the community. And even if there is a type of business that we don't, or LMV doesn't specifically tell you how to work with, it's literally guaranteed that somebody else out of the 7,000 people in this group will have already worked with that type of business and can tell you what to do for them.
Yeah. And what's really weird is me and Anash, not me and Anash, but me and Ahmed do it different. That's what's funny. Like even within the same niche, we do it differently. Like I do Facebook Messenger ads. He does like Facebook lead forms. So even within that, even within that approach, there's two different styles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's really important though, because a lot of people, even especially people who are maybe trying to do this business model themselves and they're just finding like they have a high client churn or they don't know what strategies, like people really undervalue how incredibly valuable it is to put yourself in a community with people who are successfully doing the thing that you're trying to do.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So do you remember, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, when you came into the program, like roughly how long it took you to get your first client and what kind of client that was?
First client was Domino's, believe it or not.
Domino's?
I love that.
Yeah. January. Yeah. So like by January, I had my first client rock and rolling. So 1 month, had my first client going. Like I said, a lot of it was just gaining the confidence to go ahead and push the buttons. And then once I learned how to push the buttons, like I said, for me, people are people. Like, I'm not scared to go out there and talk to people. I think that's one thing that gives me an edge over maybe someone else. It also separates you from just being a guy that sent 1,000 emails out to one random businesses each day. For me, I like personalization. I feel like that makes a difference. It helps reduce the churn. It helps personalize you to that audience. So, yeah, for me, it was just like a month in. I got that connection. I know it was probably lucky as all get out, but I went in there, talked to them. They gave me the person's LinkedIn, who's like the vice president of marketing in the region over that one particular one, and yeah, it worked out. So
how did you approach going to talk to these business owners before you actually had any results to show them?
Trial, like I said, trial. I started out with trials, obviously. Like I said, I just asked. I said, "Hey, noticed XYZ restaurant. Are y'all looking to grow? Like, are y'all looking for more customers? Are you looking to have repeat business? Like, do y'all have a strategy for that?" Just ask them questions. Like I said, it's not like you don't have to hard sell them right then and there. Like, you can just ask them questions, ask them if they have 5 minutes to sit down, do a quick little CQI, or at least schedule a different time. Like for me, that's how you get around the gatekeepers. You go local if you can. Even if you just like go around your town in a 20-mile radius, you'll find out there are so many restaurants you could be targeting that, cold outreach is hard. If you, especially with restaurants, because you have certain times of day that you can call. Like it's usually in the morning, or it's usually like right after the lunch rush, and then after that, they're usually busy all the rest of the time. So even if you hire a VA, you can't use that VA for the full 8 hours in a day. You have to be strategic when you reach out.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think that the cool thing about restaurants specifically is that you could work with a bunch of restaurants in the same area because they might be completely different types of restaurants. Whereas a lot of other types of businesses, like you probably don't want to work with 8 different electricians who are all servicing the same area because now your work is competing against itself. But restaurants, that's not really the case.
Yeah, that's a really huge advantage, and that's what I tell people when they contact me. Like, I can have a sushi place, a Mexican place, I can have a Japanese place. As long as they don't do sushi, I can have a burger joint, I can have a steak joint, I can have, a Peruvian joint, which I actually do have a Peruvian restaurant I love in Charlotte. Like, there's just like so many different styles out there. You can do a food truck.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit. Matter of fact, I know one restaurant in Florida. I'm not working with them, but I've seen them. They're like a really huge test case. Like, they really optimize their website. Like, they franchise out food trucks. They have they went from like 1 location to 8 locations in like 8 years. It is insane what they've been able to do with their online footprint. So, like, for someone to say you can't help restaurants and they don't have money, that's not the case. You just got to show the value and, like I said, build that trust.
Yeah, I think that somebody could try to make that argument for any type of business, but my go-to response for that is always the same, is that these businesses have money if what you do makes them more of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because like if a restaurant hands me $1 and I give them back 5, it makes sense. It's all about that value.
Well, and that's kind of the best part, right? Like I've done a lot of different services before, and I've been a part of different companies, and I've done like social media services in particular. So like posting on social media and all this other stuff, and that stuff is great. But most of the time, a waste of time for these people.
Yeah.
And then you sell them on it, and then like you get them for like 3 months, right? That's usually the average. And they're like, okay, like what am I paying for here? Actually, like do I need this presence thing that bad? And then they bounce, and
yeah,
I felt the same way. I was like, yeah, I mean, like I can get you more growth and stuff, but it really only work like for local businesses. It's you basically are doing giveaways, and that's fine. You get people in, you get them interested, but then I just was like, well, if you could just make a money off that giveaway or whatever, that's where your value is. Because now you're like, oh, we did this big giveaway. We got all these different people. They spent, $1,000 or $2,000 helping put this giveaway on. But they gained like, there's one local business was like, before I even knew how to do a bunch of stuff, was like they got like 900 people who registered on this giveaway. And it's a lot of people. And then you offer them in the back end. But I wasn't handling that at the time. I didn't know how to do all that stuff. And they did. And they're like, we didn't make sales. And I was like, you probably fucked it up. I think you fucked it up. I don't know. There's 900 people there that said they want this thing. And you could have gave them that thing. Some of them would have bought. Like,
yeah. And that's been the biggest challenge for me. Like, initially I was like heavy discount, especially in the restaurant space. Like margins are really low. So you have to be really conscientious, and then you have to evolve once you go. Like that's what I said. Like even the message marketing side, like doing more of the value style, like not percentage off, not usually dollars off, but like just give them a deal. Even like I said, even if it's dinner for two for $28, that's going to get some kind of couple on a Friday night to want to go out and go to your restaurant.
And probably end up spending more than that $28.
Drinks, dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good point. I mean, and that because you worked in restaurants that the profit margins are generally not super high. So you're like, okay, I'm not going to come into your restaurant and tell you to cut your prices. It's not what we're trying to do here. We're going to make more money, not less.
Yeah. The only time I initially encourage the restaurant to take a hit is when they're building their list. That's the only time I encourage them to take that hit, because they have to acquire the data to make all the rest of it possible. So like, I'll have a bigger, more premium offer on Facebook, and then I'll have a smaller offer on table tents, so we can capture their floor traffic and foot traffic throughout the restaurant. It's like the way I frame it is like, let's say I'm working with a really good quick service style restaurant. They get 6,000 people through the doors each month. If you even capture 20% of those people with a QR code, that is 1,200 people on their list for free. For free.
Yeah.
And then once you do that, then you can start messaging them, and it's just really crazy how that works. But that's the only time I encourage people to put out, like, throw out all the stops, give the best offer possible. And if you do buy one, get one, that's even the most best offer you can ever do, because it's like you're getting two people for the price of one when you're running ads. And that's the same, because then you're exposing somebody to the business. Then once they're in the business, they can scan the QR code and they get like a free dessert. So then you can get that second person in your database. It's powerful. You just have to know the strategy.
Yeah, some kind of referral incentive, like, hey, bring a friend and you'll get this.
Yeah, the best thing about this new program I'm doing is like it has referral incentives. It has geo-fencing. It's like if somebody gets within 100 meters of the restaurant, it's like, hey, we missed you. Come check us out. And it's really nice. And it's just like a push notification. So it's not even text. Doesn't cost me anything. Doesn't cost the client anything. And then you can also send like a notification out if one of your customers haven't been there in 30 days. It segments the customers like in the top percentages. You can reward your top customers even more. And you can encourage them to share their rewards, their stamp card or whatever. And then that person that opts in will get rewards on top of that. So it's just like a virality effect.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, I just have a couple more questions, and then we'll get you going here, so you don't make you late for anything else. But one of the things we always like to ask people is, I mean, you're a really good example of somebody who's juggling multiple things. You're growing this business while also maintaining another job. So is there any kind of like little tips or productivity hacks that you've kind of discovered that help you maintain both and keep working on your business goals?
Yeah, so like I said, for me, just I don't know if I have like any productivity hacks, but like having Calendly is nice. So I don't have to, instead of like manually scheduling somebody, I can throw them my link and then they schedule. So that's easy. It feels kind of like a personal assistant in a way. And then again, like I said, planning my day, maybe during the weekend or the day ahead, depending on how much time I actually had to account for that, and then just actually plan out the businesses I'm going to hit in terms of making that 5-minute video, because I can knock out like 10 in a little over an hour, and then after that you're just sending out those 2 messages, and it's scripted but not quite. I mean, it's the same thing, but like it's not really. It's not like something so scripted. It's just really nonchalant, non-salesy. So I don't know. I don't really have a lot of productivity hacks. I just make it work when I can, and just keep on hustling.
Nice. Okay. And then, I mean, the last thing I always like to ask is if there was somebody who is back where you were 2 years ago and they're considering this program or considering getting into this business, do you have any kind of tips that you would pass along to people who are brand new at this?
Yeah. One thing that I definitely see, especially when seeing new people now, like coming through, now that I can say that I'm, I guess, a veteran of, I think we're all getting to the point, once you hit a certain level, you kind of become a veteran in the group. But like, just like, yeah, spend time on the lives, but don't be on every live, because you need to actually get out there. Once you're done with the training, you get out there and actually do things. That's the way you're going to learn, is by getting your hands dirty. Second thing is believe in what you invested in. Like, I feel like so many people are like trial, and I know trial is a big part of LMV, but if you have confidence, you might not even have to offer that. Like, if you have confidence that, yeah, I can get you customers, yeah, I can get you from point A to point B. A lot of times, people won't ask to see results. People won't ask to see your website. People won't ask to see your business card. People won't ask to see all those things. There are times where you can be as confident as you are, and they will, but like, for me, that's the 2 biggest things. Get out there and take action. Don't be on every live. I mean, yeah, you want to hang out with people that do the same thing you do and they're making it work, but get out there and take imperfect action. And the second thing is believe in what you invested in. Like, believe in what you bring to the table, because I feel like way too many people don't. And that's where they get really tied up and they feel like they have to have every answer to every question. I don't know. That would be my 2 things.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it and have confidence in what you bring to the table. You might not be the one that pushes the buttons, but you need to know what the button pushing does. I'm not talking. Yeah. So you need to know what the button pushing does, and don't get too technical. Like, hey, Mr. Restaurant owner, do you have a plan for getting new customers to your business? That's a question at least ties to lead generation. Hey, Mr. Restaurant owner, do you have a plan to bring your customers back? That's reputation, and that's message marketing. Hey, do you have a plan to get more reviews so you can rank higher on Google? That's reputation management. Like, just think of how to take the services, frame the questions, and be confident in what you bring to the table.
Yeah. I think that's actually a good point that I found is kind of a hack for getting around people asking for things like, let me see your credentials, let me see your results. Because obviously when you're new, you don't have those to show. But that's where I think that what we learned pretty quickly was if you literally just take some of the strategies that you learn in LMV, like they give you them point blank. They're like, hey, if you're getting an electrician client, here's what we found is the best service for electricians. And here's a rough estimate of the kind of results you can expect from this. So now if I'm going to an electrician, I'm just going to verbatim explain what that looks like and what he can expect. And I find that when you do that and you really clearly tell them, here's exactly what I'm going to do for you, those can I see your credentials conversations don't happen nearly as much because you're already painting a picture for them. So they're kind of more curious now and they're less like, well, who are you though? You know?
Yeah, like for me, like I've always found like the biggest way to get around that is to show the value. Like actually write down the numbers. They're like, all right. So usually what I would start off would be like, all right, so I'll draw out like the whole system, right? Like you could draw out ads, you can explain what that does, explain how it's like the faucet. Then you can say SEO, yeah, that's like the garden, explain that. And then you draw like a customer database beside it, and then be like this, point arrows to it, just a really simple drawing. This is your customer ATM. We're going to use this for 2 other services. Then you draw 2 arrows away from that. One's message marketing. This is how you would draw the cash out from the customer ATM, and then the reviews. This is how we increase your brand from the customer ATM. That, and then once I'm done with that, man, I show them like, hey, we'll just start here. Facebook to the ATM. That's where we're going to start. And you're not overwhelming them. You're also not getting really technical. You don't say, hey, I'm going to run a Facebook ad to the messenger. ManyChat's going to take the messenger. Then it's going to engage with you. That's just too much. But yeah, for me, I draw out like a hypothetical, which I know is really able to be accomplished with what the ad's been. I've seen. I'm like, hey, what happened if we got you 40 customers through your door this month alone? And the National Restaurant Association says if you do a really good job and you're a really great restaurant, which we believe you are, your lifetime value is $6,000 on that customer over the lifetime of the customer. Then you multiply that out, and but this is the lifetime impact of this investment for you. And it's usually like over 200,000 or something. It's some insane number. And then you draw out the price. But hey, it'll be $17.97 to implement this whole system. We'll do the Facebook ads. We'll do the message marketing once we build the list, and we'll do the reviews, and we'll do it all. And it won't take long to get everything up and running. And I even have a way where we can do reviews like right out the gate. They don't even have to have a list, do a QR code to the form for reputation management without even having to have a list. Simple. I'll be like, well, what do you think about that? Does that sound fair? And they're like, yes, because they see the value. They even just writing stuff down, it makes you look like an expert, but it also illustrates the value you bring. Like you were saying,
picture for them.
Yeah, like you said, using the scenarios of these are the kind of results we can get you. Because like you know a conservative estimate at this point, if you've done it long enough, to say, yeah, I could get you 40 new customers each month, and that's probably on the low side. And especially if you're spending $500 on Facebook ads, that's probably on the low side.
Yeah, nice, cool. Well, do you have any other questions?
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say, like, it sounds like you've really thought this system through. It sounds awesome.
Well, I've invested a lot of money into doing
a lot of campaigns.
First it was L&V, and then I invested into a sales program with Crystal. Crystal's really good. She used to run a lot of the training inside of L&V, so a lot of like my sales stuff I've learned not just from L&V but from Crystal. Just through the association of L&V. Like I said, your network is your net worth, so you need to keep investing in yourself. That way you become more valuable and you keep learning new things and look for new solutions. That way your business doesn't grow stale and you don't lose interest, because I'm sure it can happen after time, even if you're making tens of thousands of dollars.